video metrics that matter, mastering engagement, conversion, and analytics. There are a lot of people out there putting out content, photo content, video content, and yet they're not really tracking the metrics that help them to understand conversion. Are you actually getting clients from what you're doing? Are you actually getting results from your content? So this is an important workshop for anybody who has either been regularly putting out video or is just now starting to dabble into it, because it is a little more time consuming. It does take a little more effort to put out video marketing content instead of just photos of yourself or little Canva graphics, but it can really up your exposure. It can get more people to discover you online. And as I said, conversion, it can get you more clients. You just have to kind of understand what numbers to look for and how to track them as you go along from content to content. This is part of a 3-part series. Our first one was about mindset and strategy. Our second one was about video editing tips with Canva, InShot, and AI. Both of those are now on YouTube. And today it's more about analytics, conversion, and metrics. So we really wanted to have kind of a well-rounded series here of different topics that help you to understand the full big picture strategy in terms of getting the most out of the video content that you put out there to market your business. So why metrics matter? You can't improve what you don't measure. Most creators stop at publishing, but results come from analysis. You really do need to be able to understand the impact of what you're doing and be able to look at these numbers in a way where you can understand them and see what you need to change, what you need to adapt, how you need to tweak what you do going forward to make those numbers improve. This is just a basic graph to show you that, for the most part, you can get a whole bunch of views on something. A lot of people can see a video that you make. The engagement isn't necessarily going to be the same percentage. Usually it's half or even less than half or a third in terms of how many people like, comment, share, save what you publish. And then the conversion part of it is even smaller. So when you are looking to put out an effective video marketing strategy, it is a numbers game. The more content that you put out, the more likely you are to get engagement. The more engagement you get, the more likely you are to get conversion. So when people talk about the consistency of their marketing strategy or their content strategy, I always tell my clients, you don't have to post every day. You don't have to post multiple times a day. There are some quote unquote social media experts who will tell you that you got to do a reel every day or multiple reels a week. But the consistency is key in terms of you putting enough content out there in order to get results, in order to get clients from it. So 3 myths about video metrics is that the more views you get, the more success. And of course, reach is important, but you can't just stop at that. You can't just be like, oh, a lot of people saw it. Cool. I did well. It's the other numbers, aside from views, that really help you to track how successful your campaign is. Another myth is that likes are the most important metric. And as we'll talk about a little bit later, likes are actually more of a vanity metric, where it's really cool to put something out there and it's got 100 likes or 1,000 likes or more, but likes aren't clients. Likes don't pay the bills. Likes aren't gonna, help you to grow your business. It might feel nice and it might look cool to other people, hence the vanity, but it is not going to, be the metric that you should be paying the most attention to, because there are other ways that you can track how you're actually getting clients from your content. And I don't want to be sexist and say this is a female statement, but analytics are too technical to track. Side note, I used to have a Barbie in the 90s where you pressed a little button on her back and she said 4 statements. And one of them was, math is hard. And another one was, let's go shopping. Let's go to the mall. So in a way, depending on your generation, women have sort of been conditioned to think that they're not as good at math, or they're not as good at numbers, or they're not as good at science and things of that sort. But it's just having that understanding of what you're looking at, and then as consistent as you can be in checking those numbers. So the truth is, the right metrics tell you what's actually working in terms of conversion and getting those new clients. So the most important metrics to track, as far as what we're going to focus on today: average watch time and retention. So how much of a video that you put out do people watch, and how many people watch it all the way through? Click-through rate, which can mean different things for different platforms. On YouTube, it means if someone sees a thumbnail for your video, how many of them click to watch it. based on that thumbnail. If it's email marketing, you might be talking about click-through rate in terms of how many people click a link to a video in your email to watch it. But both have to do with people taking action, deciding to watch your video based on an initial impression. Engagement rate includes a lot of things: likes, comments, saves, shares, but those are important to track as a whole. And then, of course, conversion, which means different things to different people. Maybe for you, conversions are a DM, like a message from someone saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your services. Maybe it's someone signing up for your email list or your workshop, or signing up to get your free guide. And then, of course, bookings and contracts. That's the biggest conversion we can possibly get from our content, like a sales call or booking you as a service provider for them, for their event, for their brand, for their product, for their services. From start to finish is your video telling a story that keeps people watching. And the good phrase to kind of keep in mind here is that when you hold attention, you hold opportunity. The longer that people watch a video that you make, the more likely they are to decide to work with you or start one of these types of conversations with you about what you do. This is a basic graph that shows you from the start of the video, so all the way here on the left where it says 0 seconds to 7 minutes and 26 seconds. This is common for all videos for the total watch time or retention rate to go down. Not everybody's going to watch your video all the way through, but you can see here the little observation is 44% of viewers are still watching at around the 30-second mark, which is typical. And so depending on what platform you're on when it shows you this particular metric, watch time and retention, it does usually give you some idea of what the average watch time or retention is for that platform. And when you look at this dip, when it starts to go down around the 30-second mark, this is informational, this is educational for you, because you can look at the video itself and think, okay, what happened at the 30-second mark? Like, why did I start losing people at the 45-second mark? And why did so few people make it all the way to the end? Could you have made the video shorter? Could you have edited it a little tighter? Could you have added more visual aids or B-roll or other elements beyond just you talking into the camera? There are a lot of different factors, and it might feel like it's a little bit of trial and error, seeing what works. But if you're taking these metrics into consideration every time you put out a video, ideally you learn, you adapt, and then you can improve these numbers as you go along. So here's a little YouTube short that I did. I love Austin Powers. That is an example of a YouTube short that I have on my channel. The reason why I'm bringing up shorts is that YouTube Shorts has surpassed TikTok in views this year, reaching over 200 billion daily views as of June 2025, which is huge because TikTok was the most visited website in 2021 during the COVID years, and it has really maintained its position as #1 in video views until this year. Since March 2025, YouTube's view counting method shifted and now includes 1-second videos, or video views, I should say, aligning with TikTok's approach to short form content. If someone's only watching your video for 1 second, is that a really good retention rate? Are you going to get conversion from that? Not necessarily. But what you want to take away from this news is that all of the video platforms are looking to optimize their algorithms to push video content to non-followers, people who are not already subscribed, people who do not already follow you. So the more that you lean into short form content like YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, the more likely you are to get exposure and cast a wider net for potential clients who don't already have you on their radar and were pushed your content by the algorithm. So if we look at YouTube Shorts analytics, when you go to the back end to manage your videos, you can look at the videos, which is the traditional horizontal. You can look at shorts. You can look at other ones. So when I clicked my shorts tab and I clicked on views, as in what is the most viewed, and then going down, this allows you to kind of see just in a summary top views, top comments, likes, for instance, but there are deeper analytics. If I were to click under any of these shorts or just hover my mouse underneath the title, you'll see a little button that looks like a bar graph that'll come up and it'll say analytics. And when you click on it, it'll show you the deeper stats. So this is the overview of the video analytics for my Austin Powers video. It has gotten almost 2,400 views since it was published. I've gotten 2 subscribers from it, not a big jump, but gives you that data. So if we were to click on the next tab, which is reach, then that gives you even more details in terms of where did people find you. And it came from 94% of the views of this video came from the Shorts feed, which is, again, this is the platform. This is YouTube feeding your video to people because they're trying to improve the performance of the Shorts format. In a way, you know, there are, of course, other sources, YouTube search, hashtag pages, but this is a really important thing to consider, is that the more that you lean into YouTube Shorts as a format, the more that your content will get pushed to people through its feed. If we click on engagement, then you'll see that it gives you even more stats, like the average view duration of my video is 10 seconds. It's a 13-second video, so that's not bad. And it said about 44.4% of people watched it all the way through. And it can show you that graph of the time from 0 seconds to 13 seconds. It also helps you to just in general, like we were saying earlier, have an idea of what you can do to improve your videos. But when it's this short form content, it's going to perform better than long form content in general. And then if we click on audience, so this is interesting. Of course, short videos, shorts are vertical. So it's not a big surprise that 97% of the people who watched it from their phone versus their computer. Also, this is the big stat right here. Of the people who watched it, 98.6% were people who were not already subscribed to my channel. So this is the power of YouTube Shorts. If you're going to make a reel or you're going to make a vertical video for another platform, might as well also put it on YouTube as a short to get more exposure. This also has gender. It also has age. It also has geographies. Apparently this was really popular in India. But it does just kind of break it down for you too, as well as like, who is your ideal client? Where do they live? Are they male or female? How old are they? That kind of thing. So for traditional YouTube analytics, this is a different video I did. I have at different times been obsessed with group fitness, including SoulCycle, and I did a video of a bunch of African-American instructors for Black History Month, about 2 minutes, 22 seconds long, but it's just me shooting them riding on bikes to the beat of a bunch of different like hip hop and rap songs. So it has almost 25,000 views. It has almost 400 hours of watch time. So in some cases, someone might watch it more than once. And I've gotten 194 subscribers just from this one video. So of course, longer than 2 minutes, longer form videos can also bring you a lot of traction, a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, and potentially conversion as well. It's because it is the more traditional format. When we click on reach, it also gives you this number, click-through rate. So that is that number of how many people who saw the thumbnail clicked and watched it. And that is a big part of what makes YouTube push your video to more people, is that specific number. This also says that 75.9, almost 76% of the people who watched it came from suggested videos. So again, this is the algorithm showing your video to people and saying, hey, I think you might want to watch this. Again, when we're looking at these stats, overview, reach, engagement, audience, it's all just for you to have a better understanding of how compelling is your content, and are you creating content that the algorithm will push to people who don't already subscribe to your channel and who, you know, will potentially be finding you for the first time through this one piece of content. And then for audience, again, this says 99% of the people who've watched this video are not subscribers. I have gotten a lot of subscribers from it, but the people who initially watched it were not subscribers. The device type is still high on mobile, 71%, but of course there's a higher computer because it's a horizontal. And then, you know, again, your geographies, because this is a video that I made back in 2020, so it shows you little spikes over time. When did it historically get more traction? So this back end of YouTube is something that is really helpful in terms of understanding what is the storytelling power of your content. Are you reaching the demographic that you want to reach? And where are your reviews coming from in terms of, is the algorithm working in your favor? So we mentioned click-through rate. Click-through rate is how many people who see your video or see a thumbnail for your video actually click on it to watch it. How it's calculated is total clicks divided by total views times 100. That's the percentage of click-through rate. Overall, more clicks means more video recommendations, meaning the platform is recommending your video to people. And to that end, thumbnails for your videos are crucial to building trust, boosting click-through rates, and growing your channel. So examples of bad thumbnails. Of course, YouTube will when you upload a video, auto-generate a couple of stills. It'll pull a couple moments from the video and say, how about this? How about that? Generally, that's not the best practice, because if it's just you looking into the camera, it doesn't give people any idea of what it's about, even if there's a title typed underneath it. So that's a little too simple and there's no hook. On the other end of the spectrum, people go crazy sometimes on Canva and go information overload and put way too much into their thumbnail. Too many different fonts, too many colors, just too much all overall. It's cluttered, and in ways it's hard to read because of how much information is on it. So you want to kind of strike a balance in terms of creating custom thumbnails for your videos. So for a thumbnail strategy, avoid clutter and focus on one or two key elements, which is typically like an image and some text. Ensure your images are relevant and high quality, so don't try to clickbait and make a thumbnail that isn't actually relevant to what the video is about. And make sure your photos that you use for your thumbnail aren't blurry or pixelated. Make your text readable and legible, even on smaller screens, which can sometimes mean having like a label or a backdrop color to your text so that you're not struggling to read the text as it overlays an image. And then optimize. The key to refine your approach is by paying attention to those analytics like click-through rate to understand if your thumbnails are effective in causing people to decide to click and watch your video just from seeing that still static image. So which would you click? Now we're transitioning into Instagram, but you can see that this is an image of me painting a dog portrait. I'm very early in the process, can't even tell it's going to be a dog, but this is an example of a still that could be pulled from an Instagram reel where they're like, hey, how about this? This could be your thumbnail. So if you don't customize your thumbnails, this is what the platform would potentially choose for you. On the other side, you can create something that has a sharp image in it, has some clear legible text in a large enough font that someone can read it on a small screen, because Instagram is more mobile heavy. And so, this is more of a rhetorical question, but just think of that as a video consumer. When you customize your thumbnails, you're improving the click-through rate of your videos, whatever platform you're on. So this is the video. I do paint pet portraits in addition to doing videography and video editing and video coaching. And I'm pretty heavy on Instagram for that reason, because it's a pretty artistic community. But why Reels? Why lean into Reels as a format? Reels have 125% more reach than photo posts because they're pushed to non-followers. So again, when you're looking to get more exposure, find prospective clients, increase your brand awareness, Reels are a great way to make that happen, because the platform is pushing this format in its feed, in its suggested videos, to people that don't already follow you. A few ways to increase conversion on Reels for Instagram specifically. Always use a call to action. So at the end of the caption of this video, I said, if you're interested in dog portraits or custom portraits, message me or comment below. Adding up to 5 links in your bio. You see this a lot on social media or on Instagram specifically, link in bio. But Instagram is updated where you can now have up to 5 links in your bio. So if you have various forms of conversion, maybe you want them to sign up for your email list. Maybe you want them to attend your next event, and you want them to book a time on your calendar, and you want them to visit your website. Really think about all the different ways that you can pull someone into the fold or pull them into your funnel by having your most important 5 links or up to 5 links in the bio section of your Instagram. And then regularly check your DMs. There are times where someone will watch a video like this and they will message you. They will direct message you to ask you about your services, ask you about the video itself. And if you're not daily, every other day, once a week, checking your DMs or your message inbox, you can have lost opportunity. You can be leaving money on the table, because that is a form of conversion, that person looking to talk to you about your services. So engagement rate. This measures how your audience interacts with your video compared to how many people actually saw it. And the question this asks is, are you sparking meaningful reactions, comments, shares, saves, or clicks? Again, the different forms of engagement they vary from different platforms. But if someone is just liking a video, that's cool. But it's really in the comments. It's when they share it with someone else, when they save it for themselves later, or they go from there and click to your website. That's where you know that you're really capturing their attention, that you're really sparking that like, know, and trust. High views with low engagement means your content isn't connecting. Low views with high engagement means your video is resonating deeply. So this is, again, why when we talked in the very beginning of this presentation, views are not the most important thing to look at. It's how many people are engaging with it compared to those views. So you might be bummed that you only get 100 views on a video or less, but then if you get a whole bunch of comments or people direct message you about it, the engagement is actually more important than the total number of views. So our engagement calculator, if you were to add up all types of engagement, how many likes, how many comments, how many shares, how many saves, how many clicks, total engagement, then you divide that number by the total reach, so people who have seen it but didn't engage with it necessarily, and then you multiply that by 100 to get your engagement rate, which is a percentage. Benchmarks vary by platform, as in Instagram, one of the most important forms of engagement is a save. Like, think about a recipe video. You see a really delicious video for pasta and you're like, ooh, I'd like to make that for dinner sometime soon. How can I make sure I'll find this video again? You save it for yourself later. And that is considered one of the big algorithmic pushers on Instagram specifically, is when someone decides to save your video for later. So what kind of value are you providing to people where they decide that what you are creating your video about is important? So like Monique, for instance, works in like skincare and makeup. If she were to make something about techniques of makeup or skincare and someone's like, ooh, I really want to keep that in mind for when I level up my skincare or makeup game, they'll save that for later. And then the platform honors that by showing your video to more people. Generally, anything above 5% is considered strong for organic video content, but just keep in mind if your average engagement rate is less than 5%, that's why we're looking at conversion as well, because this isn't just about the likes and the comments. It's like, are you getting actual clients from your content? For this dog painting video, here were the Instagram metrics. The total watch time was almost 16 hours. So it's like a 15-second video or a 16-second video. So that's a lot of time. Some people watched it more than once, essentially. The average watch time was 4 seconds. So there were people who watched it all the way to the end. There were people who watched it for 1 second. This was the average. Total, it's 14,000 accounts reached. So that means that, again, some people watched it more than once. 97.6% of the people who watched it were non-followers. So this means Instagram was pushing my puppy video to people who weren't already following me. And as far as the engagement and the metrics, it had 15.6 thousand views, 198 likes, 31 comments, 5 shares, and 2 saves. Conversion-wise, I got 2 new pet portrait clients from this video specifically, either from people commenting on the video and saying, I'd like to talk to you about a portrait for my dog, or direct messaging me and saying, I just saw your video. What are your rates? Can I hire you to paint my pet? Or can I hire you to paint a portrait for a friend whose pet has passed away? I tend to do a lot of memorial portraits for pets. So this was successful to me in terms of having those new clients come from this one piece of content. Pop quiz. What was the engagement rate of this Instagram reel? I have the numbers here on the left for you to look at. And the first person to guess the correct rate gets a free 1-hour coaching session with me. Like, we're not talking a sales call. Like, I will actually give you an hour of my time on coaching. So let's look at the numbers and I will watch the chat. What was the engagement rate of this Instagram reel? Who's the first one that can type something into the chat here? I know you got to math the math. It's the mathing. And it could just be a guess, guys, too. All right. They're coming in. And Carrie, ding, 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 ding. Good job. 1.67% was the engagement rate for this video. And if you look at it, you're like, oh, 15,000 views and 14,000 accounts reached. But when you put that equation into it, it's just 1.67%. That isn't what that last slide said. 5% tends to be strong. It's lower, but let's look at the math. So the total engagements divided by reach times 100. So 198 likes plus 31 comments plus 5 shares plus 2 saves was 236 engagements. We divided that by the reach, which gave us 0.01679, and then we multiplied that by 100. I know we're getting technical. I know we're getting into the numbers, but it is a metrics workshop, so I just wanted to make sure that we're all clear. This is important to gauge. Engagement is a valuable metric. That said, one more pop quiz question. With less than 5% engagement rate and an average watch time of 4 seconds on a 16-second video, is this an example of effective video content? Yes? Or no, it's just vanity metrics. Anyone want to pop anything in the chat for this one? Yes or no? The correct answer is yes, because of the conversion. So even though you might be like vanity metrics, like, oh, 15,000 views and 200 likes, right? It's really the fact that I got clients from it, that it was an effective piece of video content. this is, it's sad to think that some people watched it for less than 4 seconds because they didn't even get to see the puppy all the way through. But that's the nature of video, right? Some people just don't have the attention span sometimes, or it just doesn't spark their interest. And those aren't my potential clients, right? If someone doesn't watch something all the way through, then that's not necessarily something who wants to order a pet portrait from me. So Instagram analytics, just to touch on how to find these numbers that I just showed you for this puppy portrait video. When you're looking at your Reels tab, you'll see that your videos will all show a number in the bottom left corner. And you can see how leading, in the weeks after I had this puppy portrait video, it might be like 1,400 or 2,500 or 3,800. But down here, you can see in the corner of this one was where it says 15.6K views. So this is a basic metric in that you can see how many people watched your video. But when you click on that video, then you can see that at the bottom, and whether this is on mobile or on your computer, there is a button that says View Insights. And that's where you can see more detailed metrics. So here's where it shows you that 97.6% were non-followers, shows you the number of likes, comments, saves, and shares. And it can actually be a little more in-depth when you do it from the Instagram app on your phone, but it's nice to know that you can see these numbers from your big computer as well. So conversion metrics. I know that we had a chat question from Shelly. How do you define conversion? Conversion is different for everybody in terms of what is your goal for your marketing, right? When you put videos out, when you put content out, when you do social media, when you do email marketing, what is your goal for what you're putting out? Sales and contracts, new clients is probably the number one or is the number one conversion metric because you want to get more income, more revenue, more action from what you're putting out there, not just exposure, if you will. For those of us working in video and photography, we all remember in the early days when people would used to ask you, oh, I can't pay your rate. Can you just do it for exposure? But exposure doesn't pay the bills. Another metric is direct messages or someone filling out the contact form on your website because that starts the conversation, right? It's what gets you into the, well, how much are your services and are you available on this date and getting into the specifics of gear, things of that sort. Calendar bookings are another metric because if you're the kind of person who for your services, you typically have a sales call with someone where you're asking them questions about their business and their goals. You're talking to them about their budget and what they can afford. So for me, one of the bigger metrics is when somebody schedules a time to talk to me about my services. That's not a sale yet. I got to close them. That's up to me. But if I can put content out there that gets people to book a time to talk to me about my services, that's a conversion. Email signups. Building an email list is an important way to grow your business because you might think I have a lot of followers on this platform or subscribers on this platform, but when you have an email list, you own those emails. So anytime you have a call to action on a post, if you'd like to learn more, sign up for my email list. Or if you want to see samples of my work, sign up for my email list. Or I like to say VIP list is a softer way to say it for people who are overwhelmed with email. And then website traffic, just getting more people to go to your website and read about you on your about page, read about your services, look at your portfolio. These are all different examples of conversion. And of course, they have varying levels of importance as far as maybe the biggest goal for you is more sales. But all of these other ones are great too, because you're starting conversations, you're getting people on the calendar, you're building a list, and you're getting more traffic to your website. Vanity metrics on the other side. Virality. There's a lot of people talking about, should I be on TikTok? I want to go viral. But do you actually want to go viral? Because even people who go viral don't necessarily sell products or sell services off of those videos. So instead of virality, think, did they watch the video all the way to the end? Those retention and watch time metrics. Followers. There are people out there who can purchase followers now. You can buy followers, have a service, build your followers, bunch of bot accounts and ghost accounts. And so nowadays, Instagram following isn't a very important metric because you don't know how many of those are actually people, let alone your ideal clients. Is it your ideal clients that are following you, or is it just a bunch of randos? Likes are an engagement metric, but what's the overall engagement rate? Compared to the number of people who've seen your video or watched it, how many of them liked it, or how many of them commented on it? So you want to have both of those numbers in mind. Emoji comments. Again, it might be nice to get a smiley face comment or a heart emoji comment, but ask yourself, is it just shallow spam at this point? Are those people starting a conversation with you? Is that a potential client? Or are they just kind of sending some fluff your way? And then impressions, there are times where these platforms are like, this is your reach, this is your impressions. Impressions don't necessarily mean that the person saw your video all the way through or saw more than 1 second of it when we're talking about the YouTube Shorts, changes this year. So this is where it's important. Are they clicking through? Are they watching the video? Or are they just kind of seeing it in their feed and then scrolling past? So a few conversion tracking tips on your sales call script, like when you're talking to someone on Zoom or in person, or on your contact form on your website, right? Some people have a contact form and it's just like name, email, send. But if you can add an extra question on there, ask how they found you on your contact form on your website. When you're on a sales call, before you get into the big questions about what they want for their business, whether or not they're a good fit for your services, before you get that party started, ask how they found you. Ask how they decided to book that call with you. And maybe they'll say it was from a video you made or from social media. For calendar booking, like Calendly, for instance, if you have the paid version where you can have a variety of events, you can do custom events for each platform. So you make one Calendly event and you put that link on your Instagram. Then you make another Calendly event and you put that link to book that one on your YouTube. And then you do another one on your website. So that way, when you get a notification that someone has booked a time for you, you can see by the type of event that you created, did this calendar booking come from Instagram or come from YouTube or come from an email you sent or come from a page on your website? And that's a great way to track. For email signups, when you get new emails on your list, you can check the name in the email, or if the person put their email and their first and last name, you can check that against your followers or your subscribers on Instagram or YouTube to see if this person came from one of those channels and signed up for your email because of content they've seen on those channels. And when you're doing online ads or you're looking for a boost in website traffic, an advanced tactic is to embed a tracking code on your website, which is typically called a pixel. There's a Google pixel and there's a Facebook or Meta pixel. And when you run an ad on either of these platforms and you take their code and you put it into the code of your website, Google and Meta can track how many people who clicked from your website or clicked from your ad, clicked from Google or Facebook to your website, how many of them actually filled out your contact form or how many of them booked a call. It'll actually track those clicks. And I was a little anti-pixel when I first heard about it because I'm like, I don't really want Google and Meta on my website studying my traffic, keeping those, stats and analytics for themselves. But I personally have been running an ad on Facebook for the last 2 years. And it's because of the pixel that I'm able to track conversion from content that I put on the platform to what they're doing when they get to the website. Website visits are cool, but when you have a pixel on your website, it tells Google or Facebook they didn't just go there. What did they do when they got there? Did they complete the form? Did they give you their email address? Did they schedule a time on your calendar? One hot tip just for conversion is when someone comments on a video, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, if someone comments and it's not just an emoji comment, like they're like, great video, or this was so interesting, or thanks for sharing, that kind of thing, consider sending them a direct message. So go from the public commenting to a private conversation and chat with them there. Because if someone took the time to watch your video and comment on it, they didn't just like it. This is an opportunity for you to be like, oh, thank you so much for commenting on my video today. Did you have any questions about my services? Or thank you so much for commenting on my video today. What about it was interesting to you? And what's cool about that is that this person they don't just feel seen by you. They don't just feel like you're very responsive as a business owner, but it actually becomes a personalized interaction with this person that before you reached out was just them giving you a little love, giving you a little support. Now it can potentially turn into a sales conversation. It's not aggressive, it's assertive to take these metrics and you take action from them and start conversations with people about them. So a few small tweaks that'll make a big impact. Create clean, legible thumbnails like we talked about earlier. Customize them, but don't overclutter them. Do a strong hook in the first 3 seconds of your video. Keep it snappy however you edit it, and then have a clear call to action at the end of your video or in your caption. Track engagement and conversion weekly. Anytime you get a new client or anytime you post a new video, make a point at some point later in the week to check how is that video performing, looking at these different metrics. And when you get a new client, where did that client come from? And then be proactive and responsive to engagement. Like I just gave you that hot tip about messaging somebody when they comment on a video. Don't just sit back and hope your video is going to bring you new clients. be on top of these numbers and be proactive and respond to people when they engage with your content. And that'll really increase your conversion rate no matter what you do. Few final takeaways. Track what matters, not the vanity metrics, right? Remember, it's not just about likes and followers, it's more about engagement. Click through. Use retention rate as storytelling feedback. Look at those graphs as far as the drop off of when people stop watching, and then ask yourself, do your videos need to be shorter? Do you need to edit them differently? Or do you need to be providing more value earlier in the video instead of having all the value be at the end? Use CTR or click-through rate to tweak and refine thumbnails and titles. It is an experimentation a little bit at first. Is this font going to do well? Is this type of image going to do well as far as thumbnails? But play around and then look at the numbers and see how many people clicked and watched it. And then when you find something that works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep with that format, keep with that font. And one last thought, data-driven creativity will always boost your conversion. The more that you pay attention to these numbers, the more that you can adapt what kind of content you're putting out there, and the more you can increase your conversion rate as far as people watching all the way through, clicking on your links, and taking action after seeing your content. So if you're ready to continue on this journey with me, if you're someone who's interested in learning more about creating a video strategy, an effective video strategy based around the metrics, if you were to scan this QR code, you can schedule a free strategy session with me where we can create a custom video action plan for you for 2026. I know it's not 2026 yet, but let's plan ahead. On that session, we'll do a deep dive into the specifics of your situation, who your ideal client is, what your goals are for the next 3 and 6 months. And then we can talk about what would be the next best steps for you to move forward in terms of creating more effective video marketing content, tracking it for conversion, and growing and scaling your business. So if you were to scan that, you can get yourself on my calendar, and I would love to meet with you. I'd love to chat with you. And that's it. We're now at the Q&A section. Shelly, are you clear now in terms of how to define conversion?
Yeah, basically breaking that down even further than just one conversion rate into the different buckets. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. And again, kind of your proactiveness, your responsiveness, how much of a go-getter you are really is the difference between, yes, we'd all love to just get a sale or get a client from a video. But when you look at the other ones, you think of a nurture sequence of a client. As long as you're good about nurturing, sending out emails or following up, that type of thing, then it can absolutely lead to a sale or a new client from those other types of conversion. Did you have another question, Shelly?
I did, yeah. I kind of had a question about the metrics on like fonts and thumbnails. Like, is there such a thing as A/B testing for that, or is it really just putting it out there and then putting a different thing out there?
Yeah, it's just putting it out there. Because unfortunately, with any of these platforms, if you have two videos that the exact same content, but just their thumbnails are different or their titles are slightly different, it does kind of get flagged as duplicate content, and then both of them will suffer. So I know that when it comes to advertising, like running a Google ad or a Facebook ad, there absolutely is A/B testing. But when we're talking about organic content, it is a little more like trial and error. So that's where the frequency or the consistency of what you put out is important. Because if you put out something 1 week with one font and you look at the numbers and you're thinking, these numbers are okay, let me tweak it a little bit. And then you put out another video 1 week later or 2 weeks later, and then you compare the two and see, did it increase? Did that click-through rate increase? Did I get more views? Did I get more non-followers viewing my content? Because that's whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, any of these platforms, that's where you know that the algorithm is working in your favor, is that more of the action you're getting is from non-followers or non-subscribers, because then it's beyond organics. Then you are actually getting pushed and fed to people when they log into the platform.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Let's see. Carrie asked, how do you deal with the changing algorithms? Do metrics change when Instagram changes how your content shows up? So, Carrie, all of these platforms are constantly updating and improving, like at an insane rate. And again, that's how YouTube Shorts has surpassed TikTok in daily views, is because it changed its algorithm to start acknowledging 1 second video views, which it hadn't done before. When you see these screenshots I showed you of the back end of YouTube Shorts analytics, back end of traditional YouTube video analytics, back end of Instagram, there is, as we move forward into 2026, there is a chance that those stats will deepen or that they might have some additional stats or things added in there over time. But prior to this announcement that YouTube Shorts had surpassed TikTok, my understanding was that all of the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, which are both Meta, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of them have been chasing TikTok in terms of refining and updating their algorithm. Just, not necessarily like we want you to go viral, but like how do we improve our algorithm and get it down the way that TikTok has? So seeing this news about YouTube Shorts surpassing TikTok globally means that they're catching up. That doesn't mean they're going to stop updating their algorithms. That doesn't mean they're going to stop improving and advancing, but it does mean that what we talked about today, watch time and retention, click-through rate, engagement, and conversion, those four will always be the most important metrics that you look for, because really when it comes to video, there aren't a lot of other factors yet. Like with YouTube, you can put an end slide or an end card at the end of a traditional video where someone can then you suggest another video that they watch. I could set it up where the first workshop for you guys, when you get to the end of it, it says, why don't you watch the second workshop?
Right.
It has a little card. And then when you get to the end of the second one, it's like, why don't you watch the third workshop? And you are suggesting the content instead of YouTube suggesting the content.
Right.
Instagram doesn't have that. Instagram has zero in-video clicking capability. No suggested videos at the end. You are just either looping the same video constantly over and over, and it just keeps playing in front of you, which is why it's tracking total watch time, because someone can watch a video more than once if they want to. But YouTube has for the longest time been like, oh, your video is over, suggested videos or suggested video that you can click on that'll take you somewhere. So I feel like that's coming in like the next maybe year or so. Instagram is going to start adding in video clickability. And then like right now they just introduced a new suggested video capability on Instagram at the bottom for certain accounts, updated app accounts. But what I'm waiting for is being able to see in a video on Instagram, like a reel, that you can click a link to take you out of Instagram. Not to another video in Instagram. And as I like to say, social media platforms are kind of run like casinos.
Yeah, they don't want
they don't want you to know what time it is, where the exit is. They just want you to be in there for hours with a sparkly, flashing lights and sounds and stuff like that. So they don't necessarily want you to leave, which is part of why Instagram now allows you to have up to 5 links on your bio, because people kept doing link trees.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, I've got multiple links, click my link tree. And then they're technically leaving Instagram to look at your links. So now when Instagram has it where you can have up to 5 different links on your bio, that means you haven't left yet until you've decided which of this person's links that you want to click on. So again, these things, these algorithms, these updates will come. And when that happens, when Instagram does add capability of visit my website and it's on the reel, not in a story, because story does have clickable links, not in other places, but not like where people can stop saying link in bio and go straight from the video to your website, to your contact page, to your calendar booking page. Then there will be an additional metric. Then Instagram will have a click-through rate metric that's like how many people watched it all the way through, how many people liked it, how many commented, and how many people clicked the link on your video. So as features are added, more metrics will be added. But these ones that we covered today have been the standard for like the last 20 years of internet videos. And until more sophisticated advancements come, those will continue to be the most important ones. Any other questions? Megan, do you have any questions?
I am good, but thank you very much. I look forward to getting a copy of this as well and doing some math.
Yeah. Make the math. Is the mathing? Yeah, absolutely. Right. Cool. Math is not hard. I need to make a new Barbie. It's like math is not hard. Okay, ladies. Well, I am so glad that we were able to do this series. Thank you again to Carrie and Ariella for this opportunity. Again, this is my contact information here on the screen. So if anybody wanted to call, email, or schedule that strategy call with me, I'd be happy to connect with you and talk more about your specific brand and your specific strategy.
Thanks so much, Caron. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.